Hello, friends. Today we are going to take a look at the top 10 legendary warriors of ancient times. So let's get started. Number 10, King Leonidas I of Sparta. Leonidas was king of the eponymous and powerful Spartan kingdom from 490 to 480 BCE. He is best known for his valiant last stand against an invading Persian army at the pass of Thermopylae in 330 BCE. There he and his 300 elite soldiers held off tens of thousands of Persians for 3 days until they were finally overwhelmed and killed. Though defeated, Leonidas's heroic defense of Greece against the Persians earned him a place in history as one of the greatest warriors of all time. His story has inspired countless works of art, literature, and film, including the recent 300. Although there have been some doubts cast on the historical accuracy of certain details surrounding Leonidas and the Battle of Thermopylae, his valor and sacrifice remain undisputed. Number 9, King Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was the legendary king of Uruk, a Sumerian city-state in ancient Mesopotamia. According to the epic poem, The Epic of Gilgamesh, he reigned for 126 years, during which time he accomplished many great deeds, including slaying the monstrous Humbaba, who guarded the cedar forest, and bringing civilization to the wild country of Shumer. But perhaps Gilgamesh's greatest achievement was his journey to find immortality after the death of his friend Enkidu. Though he ultimately failed in this quest, Gilgamesh did manage to acquire valuable wisdom and understanding along the way, which he used to make his city-state into a utopia. In addition to being a great king and adventurer, Gilgamesh was also a fierce warrior, and he is often depicted as such in artwork from his time. For example, a series of cylinder seals show him wrestling with the bull of heaven sent by the gods to punish him for his arrogance. Despite his flaws, though, Gilgamesh is remembered as one of the greatest warriors of ancient times. Number 8, Richard the Lionheart. Richard I, better known as Richard the Lionheart, was the King of England from 1189 to 1199. A medieval warrior through and through, Richard was a brave and skilled fighter who led the English and their allies to victory in many battles during the Third Crusade. Though he ultimately failed to capture Jerusalem from the Ayyubid dynasty, Richard's military prowess made him one of the most feared warriors of his day. In fact, his reputation as a ferocious fighter was so widespread that even his enemies respected him. For example, Saladin, the Muslim leader whom Richard fought against in the Holy Land, is said to have remarked, "Richard is a great warrior. God has created no man more noble than he." Unfortunately, Richard's career as a warrior came to an end when he was wounded in a tournament and died of infection soon afterwards. But his legend as one of the greatest warriors of all time lives on. Number 7, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was the king of the Kingdom of Macedon from 336 to 323 BCE, and one of the greatest warriors in ancient times. Under his leadership, the Macedonian army went undefeated in war, conquering vast territories in Asia and Egypt. Alexander's military genius lay in his ability to combine brute force with cunning strategy. He was also a skilled horseman and swordsman, and he was known for his bravery in battle. It was this combination of factors that allowed Alexander's army to defeat much larger forces. Though Alexander died young from unknown causes, his legacy as one of the greatest warriors in history remains. Number 6, Hector of Troy. Hector was a Trojan prince and the son of King Priam. He is best known for his role in Homer's Iliad, where he is depicted as the greatest warrior on the Trojan side during the Trojan War. Hector was a noble and courageous fighter who always put the needs of his people first. He is perhaps best remembered for his sad demise at the hands of Achilles. After killing Hector, Achilles dragged his body behind his chariot, an act that even the gods considered to be a violation of the laws of hospitality. Though Hector's story ended tragically, he is still remembered as one of the greatest warriors of ancient times. Number 5, King David. King David is a legendary warrior from the Old Testament. He is best known for defeating Goliath, the giant from Gath, who had been terrorizing the Israelites. According to the Bible, David slew Goliath with a slingshot and a stone, an act that made him famous throughout Israel. As a warrior, David was not only brave and resourceful, but also deeply pious. He knew that it was God who gave him strength and skill, and he never forgot to give God thanks for his victories. In addition to his military prowess, David was also a gifted musician and poet. He played the harp and composed many beautiful songs, including the famous 23rd Psalm. As a leader, David was wise and compassionate. He founded the city of Jerusalem and made it the capital of Israel. He also established a strong and prosperous kingdom that lasted for centuries. Though David made some mistakes, including committing adultery with Bathsheba and murdering Uriah, the Hittite, he is still remembered as one of the greatest warriors and leaders of all time. Number 4, Hannibal Barca. Hannibal Barca was a Carthaginian general who lived in the 3rd century BC. He is best known for his brilliant military tactics, particularly his ability to use deception and surprise to outmaneuver his opponents. Hannibal's most famous feat was his invasion of Italy in 218 BC, when he led a large army across the Alps and inflicted several devastating defeats on the Romans. Though he eventually lost the Second Punic War, Hannibal's military genius was recognized even by his enemies. In fact, the Roman historian Livy went so far as to say that Hannibal was the greatest general that ever lived. Though Hannibal's career as a warrior ended with the destruction of Carthage, his legacy as one of the greatest military minds in history lives on. No. 3. Mulan. Mulan is the central character in the Ballad of Mulan, an ancient Chinese poem that tells the story of a young woman who disguised herself as a man and joined her father's army in battle. When her father was called to serve in the imperial army, Mulan took his place, fighting bravely in his stead. She was eventually promoted to the rank of captain and led her own troops into battle. After years of fighting, Mulan's identity as a woman was discovered, but she was so beloved by her men that they refused to let her leave the army. Eventually, she was able to secure a noble title for herself and her family, and upon her return home, she was greeted as a hero. Though the historical basis for the story of Mulan is unclear, the poem has become one of the most famous pieces of Chinese literature ever written and has inspired countless works of art, film, and television. Number 2, Che Guevara. Ernesto Che Guevara was an Argentine Marxist revolutionary who played a key role in the Cuban Revolution. As a military leader, Che was brilliant, charismatic, and utterly fearless. He led his troops to victory against the Batista regime, despite being outnumbered and outgunned. In fact, it was Che's military prowess that ultimately led to the downfall of Batista and the establishment of a communist government in Cuba. However, Che's political views were too radical for the Cuban people, and he was eventually forced into exile. He spent the remainder of his life traveling around the world, looking for another revolution to fight in. Unfortunately, Che's own personal life was a mess. He was married 3 times and had 5 children, but he was also an alcoholic and drug addict. This, combined with his violent and unpredictable nature, made him a dangerous person to be around. Ultimately, Che's recklessness led to his demise. In 1967, he was captured by the Cuban government while attempting to overthrow Fidel Castro and was executed shortly thereafter. Nevertheless, Che's legend as a fearless revolutionary and one of the greatest warriors of our time lives on. 1. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is considered to be one of the greatest warriors in history. He was the founder and first great Khan of the Mongol Empire, which became the largest contiguous land-based empire in the history of the world. Genghis Khan was a brilliant military strategist and tactician. He was also a gifted horseman and archer. Under his leadership, the Mongols went from being a small and insignificant tribe to being a vast and powerful empire. Genghis Khan's empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. He conquered much of Asia and Eastern Europe, Genghis Khan was also responsible for the deaths of millions of people. He was ruthless and merciless towards his enemies. Genghis Khan is a controversial figure. Some people see him as a hero who united the Mongols and brought them to greatness. Others see him as a monster who was responsible for the deaths of millions of people. However, there is no doubt that Genghis Khan was one of the greatest warriors in history. Which warrior do you think deserves to be on this list? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. See you next time.